Fred the Fish. Many of you know him as the My Leg Guy, or this brown fish you see from time to time walking and talking through Bikini Bottom. His behind the scenes production name is Incidental Numero Uno. In this full timeline coverage, from incidental to absolute staple, we will be talking about his hard work, secret island training, love, betrayal, and everything in between. In this episode of Out of the Background. So, welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about Fred and everything that we've learned about him in his history in the Bikini Bottom world, or the Spongebob TV show, and even outside the Spongebob TV show. From his first appearance in '99 all the way to modern day, as a secondary, almost main character in the show. But let me intro this up normally. Welcome home, Rep Pack, and welcome to Comfort Cartoons, the show where I collect absolutely everything from the late '90s, 2000s, all the way to the modern day, and I'm also trying to create the world's biggest Spongebob and Nickelodeon collection. And by my side, I have the #1 crime-fighting dog available. And I hope you beautiful people are having an amazing day. And if you guys aren't, you know the drill. My leg, camera flip. My leg! So Fred the Fish, or should I call him the Grouper, or as we learn in the My Leg episode, Mackerel. As I've already stated, incidental #1, he is typically a brownish green fish, but can also appear in both blue, purple, and sometimes green, sometimes without a shirt, mostly without a shirt. But he knows what he's doing because sometimes he does have a shirt, you know? So some days he just feels like showing off a little bit, I guess. He is voiced by mainly Doug Lawrence, aka Plankton. My legs! His eye color is black, pretty much in all circumstances, except for, well, when he almost doesn't have eyes. He's a resident of Bikini Bottom. We'll also talk about some of the other locations Fred has been and lived and occupied as well towards the end. Education, well, we know he was in cooking class, like Squidward's cooking class, and we also saw him in Band Geeks as learning tuba, so that. And there's more information we will discover about Fred, but this is his ID card as of right now, and we are going to be at the end of this updating it with some new information now we're able to gather as we go through this journey learning about Fred. So going through Fred's history and learning as much as we possibly can about this background character become icon of a fish, we got to start at the beginning, before the show was even created. So on screen here, I have a full list of some of the different incidentals that appear in Bikini Bottom. This is a partially found incidental model sheet from Nickelodeon, and it's basically an incidental model sheet for artists and the people working on the show to be able to pick certain incidentals they feel will fit best into the scene that they're making. And at #1, we see Fred, which already shows to me he was one of the more favorited background fish that there was at the beginning. And if that's not enough evidence of that, on the actual model sheet, there's writing and you'll see a note added to his name that it says, "We call him Fred," which again shows to me that he was a favorite from the beginning when they made the show. But now let's get into his first appearance. And this episode is nostalgic for an entire generation. It's a silent episode where just the animation of the characters tells the story on its own. But I think everybody will remember this iconic scene where SpongeBob pulls the reef blower string after it gets jammed to try to see if he can get it to start working again. And as he's pulling that string, let's go ahead and watch for a second. And pause. There we have it. We see Fred skirting into the scene for his first ever appearance, braking in order to stop to avoid hitting SpongeBob. This, my beautiful people, is not just the first appearance of Fred, but this scene shows us that Fred was the first incidental to ever appear in SpongeBob, only second to the anchovies in Help Wanted. And this is his first appearance, and we're going to be working our way through this timeline to learn as much as we can. His second appearance is actually dated a lot online as episode #4, Boating School. And we're going to get to that in a second because that is his first speaking role. But he does actually appear on Goo Lagoon in the episode Rip Pants. On the scene where SpongeBob appears to die, well, he just acted like he was literally dying. Fred can actually be seen in the background, you know, trying to go in and check on Sponge and see if he's okay. Which might show you that he's kind of caring, but at the same time, he's at this point an incidental. So as we talk about this whole timeline, incidentals' personalities don't really stay consistent. They change up a lot. Their roles change up a lot. But we're going to be digging into these things a little bit deeper than necessary, just for the fun of it. And to, like I said, learn as much as we maybe possibly can. But don't hold some things against him. And also don't give him too too much credit for other things, considering he will change up from episode to episode. Now, moving on to his real, I guess you say, first appearance as a talking character, we have in boating school. In the scene where SpongeBob's taking his boating exam and he's wearing that, you know, the honestly gorgeous hat. Many of you guys may know that underneath that hat is an antenna because Patrick is helping him via wireless or Bluetooth or something with the antenna. Radio, I guess. I don't know. And when he reveals to Miss Puff that he's cheating, he goes on a little bit of a tantrum and crashes into Mrs. Puff's light tower, which already is a really, really cool reference because the fact that she has a boating school and it's a light tower, which, you know, helps boats see. But anyway, when this light tower falls, you will hear the first ever, "My leg." And from there, that essentially becomes Fred's role for a little while. And the next time we see him, it's actually in Hall Monitor where you can see again SpongeBob misdirecting traffic in the worst way possible. Also, when I went to New York, a lot of them were kind of directing like SpongeBob, so I think he would fit in quite well there. But in all this chaos, we also get the second actually, "My leg." And if you want to know if Fred's luck, or lack of it, is limited to his leg, we also see him in Home Sweet Pineapple where his whole boat gets like consumed while he's still in it. Dang nematodes. And as we go through, we're skimming through some sections because he does have more appearances in certain episodes, but they're nothing character changing. And of course you do have some, well, my leg. But in Chaperone, when Mr. Krabs actually asks if anybody wants to take Pearl to prom, we see a little horde of friends. I don't know if this shows some kind of duplication power or a very, very conservative and probably smart usage of cell animation sheets, but we see a lot of Freds. So one could also ask, is the Fred that we see in early episodes one of just many Freds? Or is there one Fred? Because later on in the series, there for sure is but one Fred. But earlier on, there is a lot of Freds. And somebody try to count how many times I say the word Fred in this video by the end of it. Karate choppers, that's about as relatable as it gets for me. I mean, sometimes flies get in this room and I wish I had the hand of Fred to put a just Godsmack on one of those things. And also, in this same episode, at the end when SpongeBob and Sandy are actually serving out karate patties, he just casually cuts this other fish, like, doesn't say a thing. The other fish doesn't even react. He just cuts her like nothing. Her name is Incidental Number 7. Can we get an RIP in the comments for Incidental Number 7? Just stand up for yourself. And also, during these times, we have my leg. My leg. My leg. Help! My leg. I'm wearing shorts. It's hot. My leg. In Something Smells, we actually get a very iconic moment in our first ever appearance of Blue Fred with a dag, which also has an official pin that I absolutely need at this point. This video has inspired me. I need to get that pin. Oh, also in that episode we have well, my leg. And if you want to learn more about him as a character, we do see him with a couple, you know, females. So, you know, he does maybe have a family, presumably. We'll learn more as we go. You see him with maybe one, maybe two. In fact, in the episode Patty Hype, we see Fred telling his friend that they have a talking dog at the Shell Shack.
Nah, let's go to the Shell Shack. They've got a talking dog.
But the real dog is Fred himself. We see Fred pulling up to what at this time was named the Cuddly Crab after Pearl's new management came in. And disappointed Fred wanted to go eat somewhere else, so he spoke to Squidward, assuming he was a girl. And we see him in the car with this woman.
That's a darn shame. Hey, lady! Do you know where we can get something to eat around here?
Incidental number 22 in specific. And that wouldn't be a problem. You know, that wouldn't be a problem. Except in the Christmas Who episode, while waiting for Santa, which I'll give credit to Fred for always being one of the first people there to some kind of special event or occasion, and for sticking around till the next morning to see if Santa would arrive. But when he realizes that Santa's not coming and he throws his tantrum, we see him walking off with presumably his wife and kid. So, you know, Fred be hitting the town. That's all I'm trying to say. Fred has no trouble with companionship. But I do believe that he has a set family. I think he's just used for incidentals in these situations, all joking aside. And we'll talk about his more, I would think, set family as we go on. And one thing we're gonna learn later about Fred is how and why his leg is always broken. And this reason comes from a level of obsession, which is nothing new for Fred. In the episode Biggest Fanatic, you can actually see Fred at the bottom of this ditch as one of Kevin's past supporters. And you also see that his leg is broken, which to me tells me that even as early as season 2, they knew that the my leg joke was an ongoing joke, like for sure, like way before any of us did or even made it a meme. They knew that was gonna be something that stuck. And honestly, as a fan growing up, I just thought it was a generic soundbite they just throw in to kind of add to chaotic moments. But that scene in particular really confirms that they knew what was going on with this particular incidental and his leg. But not just my leg. That's where it stops. Like, that's the last my leg for like 4 seasons. And those first 2 seasons of the show, it happened enough times in just the perfect moments. It's so perfectly comedically timed. It was remembered by an entire generation of people. You may think that the my leg joke continued on like throughout the whole series, but after this moment in Mrs. Puff's imagination, which maybe even be considered not even one of them, that was the last time we heard my leg until season 6. But besides that, we also learned that he plays the trumpet from Band Geeks. He's a hell of a flag twirler.
Flag twirlers really spin those things.
But we knew Fred was a man of musical talent ever since Jellyfish Hunter, when we got to hear that angelic, fragile-legged man's voice.
Hey, all you people, won't you listen to me?
He also has a part-time job as a janitor at the Shady Shoals. And I say part-time because we also kind of find out that Fred's a millionaire. Yes, a millionaire. One of the clothed Freds you can actually see offering Mr. Krabs $1 million for that hat.
Sir, I'll give you $1 million for that hat.
Where is Fred getting this money? I mean, I guess he would have to pay for all those hospital visits, unless Bikini Bottom has free healthcare, which that puts them way ahead of a lot of us. But I do think how he got that $1 million is he has many, many jobs. He also works as a dump truck driver in a Rockabye Volt. Fred has gone through a buttload of crap, literally and figuratively. Mostly his leg. We also know that he's a close friend of SpongeBob, because at SpongeBob's house party, you can actually see Fred at the house party, which was a group of his closest friends that they invited. And if you don't think that shows that he's friends with SpongeBob, in the episode where SpongeBob was hiding from Sandy because she was going crazy before her hibernation, the first person you see putting up a sign to find SpongeBob is Fred himself. The man's thoughtful, and I mean, he's got some other appearances too, but I mean, they don't really change that much about his character or add too much. But as much as he can be thoughtful, he can also be cold-hearted. In the episode Where's Gary, in this little dating scene we showed at the start, where you see Fred with not his wife, when Gary is hungry and looking in the window, just hoping somebody could reach out to him for a bite of food, Fred closes the shades on Gary. If that doesn't show cold-bloodedness, well, I mean, he's a fish, all of them are cold-blooded, but if that doesn't show cold-bloodedness, I don't know what does. Or maybe he's hiding something, I don't know. And there's other examples of Fred being just downright heartless.
It's worth every penny.
If Ted doesn't do is sing a song of Sponge, he actually incites a riot, like a full-blown mob, to go after SpongeBob and Patrick just because they didn't like their song. Granted, they did force all of Bikini Bottom to listen to it, but really? The pitchforks? Everything else?
Where is that awful song coming from? To the radio station!
And while my leg is completely gone at this point, I could assume that maybe something happened with Fred and, well, his leg. And maybe that he was trying to avoid damaging it. Maybe he was trying to work on himself before falling into his obsession that we will learn about at the grand reveal of this video. Maybe he was training, because we also see him on Karate Island, working as Master Udon's servant. Maybe during this time he was like working on reinforcing, strengthening, powering up his leg. Or again, he could have just been there because, you know, they needed a fish there. But we're not going to do that today, okay? We're having fun with this. But he also has a bunch of other minor appearances we're not going to get too far into because there's just too many to really count. In Atlantis Squarepants, we see another one of Fred's amazing jobs where he works as a tailor, making Mr. Krabs pants.
Hey, they stopped at me tailors along the way.
He also goes to prison, like kind of a lot, like a weird amount. Inferno Island, he was a prisoner. In Karate Star, he was a prisoner when Patrick released all the prisoners from the prison.
More karate chops.
And in Jailbreak, he's actually one of the prisoners that helps Plankton steal the formula. He's a prisoner kind of a lot, almost as sus as Mrs. Puff, but again, that's another topic. And Fred is not just a prisoner, a very hard worker, a leg injurer. He also has deep roots in the ocean. In Pest of the West and Deadeye's Gulch, we actually get to see one of Fred's ancestors giving Spongebob a very nasty stare as he's walking into town. He's a lover of history in Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is actually an episode title, The Battle of Bikini Bottom, which is also a video game, but unrelated. He's reenacting one of the great civil wars of Bikini Bottom and manning the soap cannon. In Pet or Pest, he's also a garbage man again. I just figured we bring that one back because he does show some consistencies. In Spongecano, you see him on the cover of a magazine, which the only appearance of him is orange. I don't know. This one I'm teetering on whether I believe it or not because he's orange and we never saw another orange Fred before. But who knows what kind of foundation they used on him. I'm adding model to his list. The man is a millionaire, like I said. Now let's talk about his family life a little bit. So we know that he at least has one pet, being a snail. In the episode Grooming Gary, during the pet show, we can actually see Fred with his pet snail, which is his pet, even though it attacks him at the end of the episode, still his pet, you know? I have a dog and she kind of runs my life pretty much too. I mean, she doesn't attack me, but she did. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna break down what I think his family, based off all the information I could find online and from watching many of the episodes. Literally, I watched countless many episodes. It wasn't as hard as you think. It was fun, but at the same time, it was a lot of rewatching, going back, moving forward, a lot to do this video. But in A Pal for Gary, you see what I believe is his son, incidental number 103. I think that's the most close to canon kid that he would have.
Wow, Dad, is it really mine to keep?
And the only reason why I picked this kid is for a reason I'll explain very shortly here. And not just that, in the lifeguard episode where SpongeBob actually puts caution tape across the entire beach to avoid anybody going in the water, kid that you see next to Fred is also this same kid, who goes by Monroe, a couple different names, but we're gonna call him incidental number 103. But to further confirm it, Fred's not a man of variety. He does, except for when he's by himself, he doesn't take his family anywhere, besides the Krusty Krab, it seems. In the Krabby Patty that ate Bikini Bottom, at the end of the episode, you'll actually see Fred ordering food for his family. Boom, right there on screen. That is who I believe Fred's family is. We see his wife, who is also the same character. Remember that clip I said I was talking about later with the Christmas scene where he goes in the car with that woman? That's the same woman. And the little girl, that looks like the same, maybe slightly older, but the same girl that he also gets into the car with. Or at least similar. Similar enough. And there's another boy, an older boy that we have not seen yet, which online they list that boy's name as Tommy. So we're gonna call him Tommy. We've got Monroe. And Debbie or Lily is what their on-screen names are gonna be. Or the one in the Christmas could be Lily, and this one could be Debbie. But that is all of his kids. And even though we don't see Monroe, the little boy that I was talking about in the last episode, we have seen him with Monroe many of times. And if you look at his wife, she looks very similar to Monroe. She looks so similar to him that I just think that Monroe maybe was at school, maybe was gone that day, I don't know, grounded. But I do firmly believe that Monroe could be a part of that family and just takes more after his mom rather than Fred. Maybe even a stepkid, who knows? But I do think the Monroe 103 is in that family. So on screen, you will see what I believe Fred's family members. So this is the groupers. We'll call them the groupers. The family of grouper fish, aka the My Leg kids and the My Leg wife. So that's the best I could really bring together for his entire family. Doing all the research, going on to several different Wikipedia pages, the Amino app, watching countless episodes. That's really the most uniform family that there is for Fred. And it was really hard making this video because every Wikipedia page, the Amino fan page apps, all of them have inconsistent information, incorrect dates for his first appearances, incorrect information for who's in his family, incorrect moments. Like, there's so many things that were right and wrong. So I had to weed through all that stuff in order to make this video happen. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. So that's his family right there. So getting more into Fred's titles, we have in Pull Up a Barrel, we have where he plays a pirate in Mr. Krabs' Story, because that makes sense. I guess that could be another ancestor, or also I'm pretty sure Mr. Krabs' Story was fake, but yeah. He does this disgusting thing with one of his eye boogers. Oh, I can't watch. This is during, you know, that era. Oh, also around this time, we actually have the return, finally, of My Leg.
My face! My face! Also my leg, but mostly my face!
Something happened at that time where he was off the game, but his leg got back into the game, and, well, got my leg. But then after that, we've got My Leg.
My legs!
My Leg.
My legs!
We have My Leg.
My leg!
My Leg.
My leg!
Oh, you get the point.
That's right. My leg!
There we go. Besides the more modern appearances in the actual My Leg episode, where it's like 100 times in one episode, I think in this video we featured every My Leg, which is pretty awesome to say. Now we are moving to the My Leg episode. The absolute pinnacle Super Bowl of the My Leg bit, and also Fred's story, because this is where Fred is transformed from an incidental character to a full-blown secondary, almost in some episodes a main character. His personality goes from being an incidental, where it's very inconsistent, his family, his life, so many things change about the character. From this point onward, they establish Fred as his own person, and in My Leg episode, we get to learn all about why Fred's leg gets hurt all the time. And I'm gonna try to go through this a little bit briefly for those of you guys who have seen the episode, but a lot of people haven't watched a lot of the more modern episodes of SpongeBob. So that way you guys can get an answer to a question that you may have always had. So My Leg is an episode that came out in season 11, episode 16. And after years of it being a meme, used online and in the fandom, they decided to make a full-length episode. Well, part A episode about his leg. And in the episode My Leg, it starts off with a compilation of many different Fred leg injuries, but the one in particular I noticed was the first one at the start of the compilation, which is very similar to the first ever My Leg incident, where the boating school lighthouse actually fell on him. So I think that's a call back to the first ever My Leg, which I loved. But during this compilation, it shows many of the different times that he hurts his leg, and Fred's leg has gotten hurt so many times. The doctor gives him an ultimatum, basically saying that if he doesn't stop hurting his leg, then he's gonna replace his leg with a robot leg. And of course, that doesn't sound that bad to Fred, but it's more of a consequence for the robot. The robot does not want to lose his leg. He's on his last one, so he's worried about it. When he comes out the hospital, he's greeted by SpongeBob and tells SpongeBob to stay away from his leg. We find out that most recently, SpongeBob had also run over his leg with a freight train. A little freight train, but a freight train nonetheless. SpongeBob decides he's going to protect Fred's leg incognito as he goes about his day. And you get to see how many situations where Fred's leg is actually put at jeopardy, including his job at a lumber mill where he pushes logs in with his legs. After several situations where SpongeBob saves Fred's leg, he finds Fred disappointed that his leg hasn't got hurt and that he actually kind of wants to go to the hospital. And the reason why is because he's in love with a nurse at the hospital. So he uses the leg injuries as an opportunity to get to go talk to her, which is kind of cute, but also kind of psychotic in a weird, clingy, obsessed kind of way. So then SpongeBob tries to help Fred actually hurt his leg so that way he could go to the hospital and get to talk to this nurse and explain his love. And then in that process, they're unable to actually get Fred's leg to break or be hurt, coincidentally after trying all day to avoid it. But they do one final attempt by tying his leg to an actual train, and everything but his leg gets broken. But nonetheless, still ends him up in the hospital. And then once we arrive at the hospital, we get to see the beautiful, gorgeous angelfish of the ocean, the nurse that Fred is in love with. And Fred reveals his love for her through a song called My Leg is in Love. As we already knew, Fred is quite the musician, so the song is kind of a leg tapper. Just, you don't tap it too hard, but, you know, good. And at the end of the song, Fred and Nurse Daisy are actually together. And as you can presume, Fred will still be using that leg in order to get a chance to go hang out with her during her shift anyway, though. But it's still an amazing love story that has taken 2 decades, you know, it's pretty amazing and one of the most drawn out love stories in TV history if you really think about it. And after this point, you stop seeing Fred used so much as an incidental, but more as just a character. Although he does become his own character, his leg really becomes his personality in some ways. That kind of just becomes his full-blown thing. Shopping list, we have my leg. In Chef Bob, where Spongebob actually conquers his stage fright by having a puppet version of himself, we get another My Leg.
Bring 2 legs. My leg.
Shut up, Fred.
One of my favorites, though, is in Call the Cops. In the Bikini Bottom Police Department, in their evidence room, you can actually see one of Fred's legs as a piece of evidence on display with a tag that actually says Fred. In the string, he doesn't hurt his leg, but he hurts his pants, I guess, kind of.
My leg. My pants.
Which that whole episode is just mind-blowing if you watch it. That string that is his pants ends up unraveling like the entire world of Bikini Bottom. So, one of my favorite modern episodes. Next, we are going to probably my favorite My Leg of all time. We talked about a lot of legs today, people. And I think this may be my favorite one. And that is the Big Birthday Blowout, which is its own DVD special, which didn't come out that long ago, which is rare, that I recommend you check out. But there's a scene in that episode where Plankton's got a very cult-like ritual setup going on, and he's actually doing leg injuries. He crushes one fish's leg, and then after that, he literally forces Fred to say, my leg.
Say it, Fred.
Oh. Say it.
My leg.
And to summarize how I said that, I think that the leg thing, they literally took it and stretched it. We have the final appearance of Fred as of recently. In Sponge on Parade, we see Fred on none other than a My Leg float.
Not to be outdone, it's Fred in his incredible My Leg mobile.
My leg. My leg. I'm in my leg.
And that's pretty much the appearances of Fred, not including season 13, which only recently was completed, or the Patrick Star Show, which is not really a completely canon show. But there are some other minor appearances that we could talk about. But let's go ahead and do our character profile ID one more time with everything that we've learned about Fred. So taking a look at Fred's profile, we have now that he appeared in green, blue, and purple, but we can add orange to that one. We can add his first appearance being a reef blower, speaking role as boating school. We can add his children as Tommy, Monroe, Debbie, and Lily. And his partner slash spouse we can add as Sadie, being the orange fish that we spoke about earlier. We also can say that he has a driver's license. There is so much that we got to learn about Fred, but these are just some things I wanted to add to his profile here. But really, the man has done it all. He has some movie appearances, of course, being the My Eyes guy in the SpongeBob film. In the Sponge Out of Water episode, Mr. Krabs throws a stone Krabby Patty, and of course we hear My Leg, so he makes an appearance in 2 of the 3 SpongeBob movies.
My leg.
As far as video games and the Minecraft DLC, Fred is an actual skin you can use. Cosmic Shake, you get to run into Fred and actually help save him.
I think your leg will be okay, as long as you stay away from termites.
And as far as official Fred merchandise goes, there's a Fred broken leg figure that came in a 4-pack. He has the wobbler that we featured at the start of this video. He has an official Fred My Leg shirt, many different Fred pins, and I think most recently a Fred bag clip that came out by Monogram. All of these products of which did not come out till around the same time or after the My Leg episode. Pretty much engraving him as a staple character in SpongeBob. And all I can do is give a round of applause to the man, Fred, from taking a spot as being incidental number 1 to now having video game appearances, full-length episodes, official licensed products, and only so much more to come, I only assume. So all I could say is we love you, Fred, and you know, considering he was incidental number 1, I figured he was the perfect person to make the first episode of Out of the Background for. And I don't know if every Out of the Background episode is going to be this long, because most of the background characters do not have have as much content as Fred does. But believe it or not, many of the background characters in Bikini Bottom have so much more to offer and so much more to their lives than many people may know. So if you guys want to see me do more of Out of the Background, let me know down below and I will continue this series. And if this does well, I could even do complete history timelines of some of the main characters, such as Sandy, Squidward, and of course the iconic duo of SpongeBob, Patrick, all of them, you know? But of course, those would be very long, extensive, different style videos than probably these ones, because they have a little bit more canon stuff to work with than background characters. The background characters are super fun though, because it's based off of a lot of presuming and trying to come up with the best cohesive timeline that you possibly can. But I definitely would love to cover those characters and what they've been through from their start to modern day as well. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Go check us out on Patreon. It helps me be able to spend time writing 20 pages on Fred, okay? So go support on Patreon if you guys want to see more content here on Comfort Cartoons, covering all the things that we love. Helps us keep the lights on here in the cavern. I would greatly appreciate it. It goes way further than you know. And also, don't forget, we are on Whatnot, where you get $15 off your first pickup over there, free money. So if you're a collector like me, you can go pick up several items over there for absolutely free with that $15, or for a really big discount. Go pick up some Fred merch. I'm sure there's a lot of people over there selling Fred items, whether it be pins, the wobblers. You'll go pick up a Fred for free. I mean, take advantage of the free money while it's there. And I will see you guys in this video that I know you're gonna love. It's a video of me breaking down all the times that SpongeBob has appeared in different Nickelodeon shows. If you're a Nickelodeon or cartoon fan like all of us here on this channel are, I know you're gonna love it. As always, Rep Pack, I will see you beautiful people in the next video. Adios and my leg!